Hello guys, so now we shall be discussing what are the different types of, in the previous lecture we have discussed the introductory part of cutaneous mycosis, right? We call that as tinea, which is also called as a dermatophyte. Now we shall be discussing different types of tinea, okay? So we have got different types of tinea infections, different types of tinea. Now what are these different types of tinea? The first important thing is we have got tinea capitis. We have got tinea capitis. Okay. Second important thing is that we have got tinea corporis. We have got tinea corporis. And third important thing is that we have got tinea cruris. Tinea cruris. And what are the fourth and the fifth important things? We have got one is tinea pedis on the legs, right? And we have got tinea unguium. So we have got different types of tinea. One is called as tinea capitis, tinea corporis, tinea cruris, tinea pedis and tinea unguium, right? Now first of all we shall be discussing, and by the way all these they affect the skin. Why? Because they are dermatophytes. So first of all we shall be discussing about tinea capitis. Tinea capitis. Now when I tell capitis, by the term itself you might know that this mainly occurs on what? Which part? On the scalp as well as on the head. So this mainly occurs on scalp as well as head region. Scalp as well as head region. Now what is it mainly associated with? Whenever a patient gets this infection, tinea capitis, so this infection is mostly associated with what all things? The first important thing is that patient can have lymphadenopathy, right? Patient can have lymphadenopathy. Not only that, at that part where the infection is there, there can be alopecia over there. Apart from alopecia, there will also be scaling. So we are discussing about tinea capitis. Within this tinea capitis, it mainly occurs on the scalp, anywhere on the scalp as well as on the head region, right? So there will be lymphadenopathy. So there are occipital lymph nodes, right? So mostly the occipital lymph nodes, they will be enlarged. So there can be lymphadenopathy, there can be alopecia as well as there can be scaling. So these are the three important things which you would see in the patient, right? So we shall be looking at the picture now. So look at the picture guys. So this is a picture of tinea capitis. This is a picture of tinea capitis. As you can see, there is a tinea capitis infection over there. Now that part has no hair. There is, why? Because there is alopecia. Lymphadenopathy we cannot see in this child, we can only palpate basically. And there is scaling. You see white color scales on the surface of the place where there is no hair, right? So there is scaling also. As I told you, tinea capitis is associated with lymphadenopathy, scaling as well as alopecia. You can see alopecia as well as scaling over here, right? So this is tinea capitis. Now we shall go to the next infection, that is tinea corporis. Now we shall go to the next infection, that is tinea corporis. Now when it comes to tinea corporis, one very important thing you need to know is that where does this tinea corporis mainly occur? It mainly occurs on the legs, on the torso, right? So it mainly occur on the torso. I'd show you the picture anyways, but just for a note I'm writing it. It occurs mainly on the torso. Now when you look at the tinea corporis infection on the torso, that would be a specific rash, okay? That is basically on the legs you will see a red color rash, I mean a erythematous rash with a central clearing. Basically you would see a red color rash, an erythematous rash with a central scaling, right? So how does the rash look guys? How does the rash look? There will be an erythematous border like this. There will be an erythematous border, and in the center you would find scaling. There are scales in the center. So how do you depict this rash? How do you depict this rash is, this is a erythematous rash or I can say erythematous border with a central scaling. With a central scaling, right? Or I can say central clearing, scaling, or there can be scale in the center or a clearing. Central scaling or central clearing, right? Now, how does this infection mainly occur? How does this infection mainly spread or occur is that, for example, if there is any infected dog or infected cat, right? So, if you are getting in contact with that infected dog or cat, so you are more likely to get this Tinea corporis infection. So, infection transmits from infected dog or a cat. Infected dog or a cat. Now let us look at the picture. Now look here guys, you can look at the picture here very clearly. This is on the leg. The rash is basically located on the leg. Now look here, there is an erythematous border, isn't it? As I told you, there will be an erythematous border with a central clearing. In the center there is nothing, right? Central is completely clear, but the border is red in color. So this mainly looks like a ringworm, right? Isn't it? So this is nothing but your Tinea corporis. Now the next infection we shall be looking is Tinea cruris. Okay, so we shall be discussing about Tinea cruris. Now in this Tinea cruris, first important thing you should know is that where does this infection occur? Tinea cruris mainly affects your inguinal area. So Tinea cruris occurs mainly in the inguinal region or inguinal area, right? Now when you look at this infection, in this infection you won't find any kind of central clearing, okay? So there is no central clearing. What is that? There is no central clearing. Now let us look at the picture. Now look at this picture guys. Now in this picture, obviously this picture which I am showing it to you, this is the central region, right? This is the genital region. Now exactly in this genital region, you can see the rash completely like this, an erythematous rash, isn't it? So you can very clearly see an erythematous rash. Now in this erythematous rash, do you see any central clearing? No. The rash is completely around the inguinal region, isn't it? So there is complete rash that is spread, widespread in the inguinal region, diffusely in the inguinal region. There is no central clearing. So such type of rash is Tinea cruris. Tinea cruris. Now the next infection we shall be discussing will be Tinea pedis. Okay, pedis means what? Foot. So mostly this infection is seen in the foot. Okay, so we shall be discussing about Tinea pedis. The next infection is Tinea pedis. Now in this Tinea pedis, you have to know one thing, that there are three different types of Tinea pedis. Within this Tinea pedis, there are three different presentations, right? In these three different presentations, the pathogen is Tinea pedis, but at three different ways it is causing. Now how is that? The first important thing is that Tinea pedis can affect between the fingers like this here. I mean to the legs, not to the hand, okay? So this is called as interdigital. So Tinea pedis can be interdigital. Okay? And second important thing, Tinea pedis can also be of Moccasin distribution. I'll show you the picture. What is that? Moccasin distribution. And finally, it can also be of vesicular distribution, of vesicular type. So it can be interdigital between the digits in the web spaces, right? It can be Moccasin distribution and it can be vesicular type. Now out of all these three, interdigital is the most common presentation of Tinea pedis which we see. Okay, this is the most common. Now let us look at the pictures. If you look at this picture guys, the infection which you can see is seen in between the fingers, right? Between the fingers of your foot. So this is called as interdigital type. In the next picture you can see this is called as moccasin presentation, right? It is widespread and has got a very clear border, right? So this is called as moccasin distribution. And finally, we have got vesicles on the food. You see small round vesicles. So these vesicles on the food are called as vesicular type of Tinea pedis, right? So this is vesicular type. Clear? Now the next infection we shall be discussing is Tinea unguium. So there is nothing much to write about this. So let me write it here itself. This is called as Tinea unguium. Now what is Tinea unguium? If the tinea infection, right, it mainly infects the fingernails, that is called as Tinea unguium. As a result of this, you look at the finger here, fingernail, how distorted it is, right? So this condition which is happening to the nails, this is called as onychomycosis. It means fungal infection of onycha. Onycha means nail. Fungal infection of nail. So this is all you need to know regarding the dermatophytes, the cutaneous mycosis, guys, and the types of tinea we have discussed. Thank you so much for watching my video. Goodbye.